people to adopt it. It worked, and then they kept dropping it down, so we're still at the 5-year payback on these projects. What they're doing is dropping this so that they can get rid of it, because the cost of hydro is going up at a rate that is making it that it is parity. So for the duration of the contract, these here, and the cost of electricity going up, we are at parity. So why provide an incentive when the incentive is going to be avoid the cost of electricity, put it on your own roof. So that's the net metering that's coming for 2017. It's under discussion now. So we're only going to do this microfit business as we see today for a couple of years, because there will not be a microfit program. Go ahead.
Christine? Just for everyone's information, 8 of our 9 microfit projects got in at, I believe it was 54 cents. That was the previous rate. We missed the deadline for one project because there were some technical snafus, and that one came in at 32%. So most of our projects were secured at a significantly higher rate.
And that is the trend. So now we see the final step for January 20. So that's just a timeline. If we can secure the contracts, we have 6 months after January 1st to get them installed and secure that rate.
So Christine has indicated that the next meeting that is available is December 2nd, 2015. If we do that and pass the lease agreement, if that's council's wish, on the actual council meeting, the third Wednesday of December, is that suffice?
Yes, we can do once we know these buildings and ownerships, we could ask Christine to approve the microfit contract, but there will be no obligation because we never went to that step to have the leases agreed on, so we just take it out of the system. The agreement expires, the contract expires, it never
Typically, you need approval by the mayor, and you need a resolution by council.
I believe that's the best
signing
way to go.
Authority is the mayor or the chair of corporate services and the treasurer or the CAO. I believe that's the signing authority for any agreement, anything. So again, the question becomes
sure. So
December 2nd.
Yeah, at December 2nd we can do that. Make sure, let's get the IESO application in December 2nd, and we're still not bound to anything.
That would be a committee meeting, and the agreement wouldn't be signed then until the third Wednesday of December.
So we're still okay with that.
If
we're putting our ducks in order for now to planning to get there, and what we've done, the city of Pembroke has signed. I guess we're just closer to them. They've signed, and we put the IESO applications in, so the paperwork is there, the contract is there. If we ever get to completing, then we just go ahead and install them.
Okay. Mayor Johnson?
We can just go ahead and make the application, because we can let it expire if we choose not to go with the agreement, right? And the sooner we do that, the less chance we have of losing this price, right?
Yes. In Pembroke, the CAO has signed the contract.
So like we can apply now, and if we decide not to go with the agreement, we just let that expire.
So is there an application process?
Yes.
There's an application form that just
we
says
don't have
that
that ahead in front of us?
No, we can get that to you tomorrow.
So that maybe can come forward at the council meeting in October?
Certainly. We'll put that on to 17th.
It should only be a very short yes or no.
Yeah,
decision,
and that's a formality. So, and I understand why Terry would, because that you're not bound by that.
Exactly.
We're not binding the corporation. That's simply getting in the queue.
Exactly.
21st October.
Yeah, I think that's prudent, because we could get faced with another loss of income if we decide to go ahead. If we have the application in, it seals the agreement at that point, right?
The higher rate.
The higher rate is sealed, yeah, correct.
Yeah, Christine?
So, Dennis, if you could get that to me next week, and then we'll get that into the October 21st meeting, and at least we can get that piece of paper on its way.
Yeah, and any other requests that you have, send it, but Darshini will send that to you tomorrow morning, the application form.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the 15 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. Item number 2, employee honor wall requirements. Christine?
Yeah, when this was last discussed before council, the decision was to have a small committee of Councillor McLaughlin, Councillor Jackson, and me have a discussion about what the parameters and qualifiers might be. So I have drafted this report that came out of that conversation, and I have nothing further to add to the report.
I guess the only comment that I have is the ones that we know that are currently employees, do they have to request in writing as well? It has to come from this end. I think the power has to come from here. I think the power has to come from here. And the question, Christine, is does the request have to come in writing for those employees that are currently with Whitewater Region?
That's not up to me to decide. I just wrote down here from the minutes that I had from you and Daryl and I meeting, I would think in order to be equitable, and we could certainly post this on our website and perhaps get it onto Whitewater News, but I think if you're going to be part of this, you need to apply in writing. It would be my suggestion that would apply across the board.
My memory of the conversation was that current employees would, if they've reached the 20-year period, they would automatically be added to the list. It was for any previous employees that are no longer employees with the township that request would have to come in writing. So as people meet the 20-year stage, that they automatically get added to the list, that the request in writing, because you're not going to get anybody asking to be put on, in my opinion. You're going to get very few people asking to be put on the list of the current employees if it has to be done in writing. I think the ones that we wanted to recognize were previous employees of the former municipalities. If they did have the 20-year service and we weren't aware of that, then that application could come in writing and it would be reviewed and approved. Is that your understanding as well, Daryl? Councillor McLaughlin?
Well, what I understood is much like that. I was thinking that anybody who wasn't a employee of Whitewater Region at amalgamation time they would have to request. Anybody who was a member, in my thoughts, would automatically be put on the board because they were Whitewater employees. Because as Christine says, we don't have the time to go back and search through papers, and we don't want to do that. So, I mean, we know our employees as of now how many years they have. So I was under the assumption that once they got to the 20 years, they would just automatically be put on the board. So,
and I guess we could make that change, and then for any further requests, it would have to be in writing. So any current employees that reach the after amalgamation, any employees that reach the 20-year mark, which we should have information on, or had reached the 20-year mark prior to amalgamation, they would be added to the list of employees for recognition, and that if there was somebody that had worked for the township, 20 or 30 years ago, and that wanted to come forward and the family wanted to have those recognized, that would be an application in writing. Mayor Johnson?
again, this was my suggestion, so I'd just like to add that most of the people that I would like to bring forward, or they're dead, they're probably not gonna make much of an application. So, can I make the application?
It just says request in writing, so anybody can bring
Then
that request.
I'm good with that.
It doesn't say request in writing by the employee or by the employee's family, so it just says in a request. It doesn't say that, is what I'm saying, it just says a request in writing. Councillor Mackay?
How much room are we gonna need for this? It's like just endless. Why don't we get one of the things your grandmother has pictures? Here's Bob, here's John. Your name comes under 1831.
In this recommendation, it's not recommended that a picture be added. It's just the plaque will have the employee's name and years of service on it. So it'll be a small plaque. Councillor Olmsted?
Yeah, I like that approach, but I'd also like to add that with the family's agreement or approval, there may be families out there that want nothing to do with it. You know, who knows? So I think the family or the person that we're applying for, so if it's the mayor nominating somebody, I think the family should also have to approve that we're going to add the name.
And if that family isn't available? Could
Family
moved
member.
away?
Right. I'm sure there's relatives somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's local, but, yep.
I agree with that. It's wouldn't be prudent to put something on the wall. And to answer Dave, like we might have 15 employees, and they're all small little things, about the size of 2 of those pictures that are honoring us. I think we got to honor our people too.
Okay, so I'd make that recommendation that we make those changes and bring it forward to the council meeting in October for ratification by motion or bylaw, whatever you want to do for your policies. Okay, so the motion has been tabled. So what's your procedure? Do the mover and seconder have to agree?
No, that's just if you're withdrawing the motion. So if there is consensus, we'll just table this and I'll make the amendments, draft a policy, and bring it back for approval for the October 21st meeting.
Thank you. Okay, the third item on the list is deadline for paperless meetings. Christine?
At the moment, our administration staff is preparing 2 separate packages, a paper package and an electronic package. So since our purpose in going to the iPads was to wean ourselves off paper, I'd like to suggest now, just by the process of trial and error, staff have found a few quick shortcuts that are very helpful in terms of accessing pages, specific pages in an e-package, etc. So I was hoping that at a meeting coming up soon, we might have a 10 or 15 minute tutorial. Maybe we could start at 5:45 and just go over some of the things that we've found that are helpful if everyone was here with their iPads fired up and ready to go. I'd like to suggest that, and I know we all agreed that we wouldn't, till everyone was ready, we wouldn't stop producing paper packages. I thought November 18th might be enough of a window to get there, but at the moment it is, creating, as I say, the staff is putting together 2 different packages, and we're not achieving what we'd hoped to by getting away from paper.
Since the first meeting that we've had the iPads, I requested at that meeting not to have any more paper. So I've been paperless since then, other than when I get here, I get lots of paper. I would also suggest that those could be scanned and emailed, so that they can be accessed as well, so that we're not doing that as well. I'd also suggest, and that I had suggested to the CAO and Erica at the time, is that there is the program that iCompass, there's so many I things, iCompass for the iAgenda offers a free iAgenda package now. It used to be cost. That I recommend that you look into that and play around with it and see if it's something that might be useful. I think with the new staff, how quickly she catches on with IT after only 3 days. I think perhaps we can take a look at that and see if that's feasible. It will be a lot easier to manipulate the agendas as well. But is there anybody that would suggest that we go earlier than November 18th for paperless? Councillor Mackay.
I recommend we go November 18th to 16. Yeah, another year. Just one more year. Don't give me that look. I hate that thing. Hate it. Let me turn this off.
Whoever you are, Mayor Johnson.
I too have refused the paper, so if Dave wants an agenda in writing for a while, maybe we can accommodate Dave, or maybe we can get Dave schooled, because he's going to enjoy this.
Reeve Miller?
Why don't you school Dave and me together, because I'm still looking for the on switch here too. Maybe we could come in and we could get it. It wouldn't take much. I know we can pick it up, Dave. It's just to get at it.
Anybody else? Christine?
When we first had the original discussion, from what I recall, we agreed that before we started upgrading software, because I believe there's about an $18,000 cost to the iCompass software package, that we'd all get comfortable with doing it this way, and then have a look at the software.
The software is a free software. There's no cost to the software any longer for the iAgenda.
Nothing better than free.
And I sent that memo out with the attachment a few months ago. So I would suggest that we look into that, ensure that it is free, and if it's free, that we go ahead and start playing with it. And if you need any help, I know that a staff member at Laurentian Valley would be more than happy to help out. So we're going to stick with November 18th? Awesome. 2015.
Try.
Moved by Councillor Olmsted, seconded by Councillor Rieger. Be it resolved that the Corporate Services Committee of the Township of Whitewater Region agrees that council and committee packages will be paperless starting with the November 18th regular council meeting. A paper agenda will continue to be provided until that time. So this should be...
I thought that's what we wanted, paper agenda.
Oh, paper agenda, yes, sorry. It's getting late. Any further discussion? Councillor McLaughlin?
So we're going to keep a paper agenda?
Agenda,
Okay, that was my main concern. I like to have the agenda.
yeah.
The rest I'm fine with.
I would suggest on the paper agenda as well, Christine, that the pages, the number pages where the items are, that it be numbered on the agenda, so that if somebody wanted to jump forward to a specific page, they knew where they were going. Right now we have to scroll through everything to get to, so if the agenda could be, Ottawa River Energy Solutions pages 15 to 20 or whatever, that we would know what that was. Okay? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Number 4 on the list. Public Purchasing Cooperative Proposal, and this is Jennifer Robitaille. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to present this evening. Mr. Mayor, Councillor Jackson, Ms. Fitzsimmons, and fellow councillors, this is a great opportunity, and I'm honored. Tonight, it's all about learning about joint purchasing and how to leverage your purchasing power to obtain greater savings in your routine purchases that you're currently doing for goods and services within your municipality. So really quickly, I'm just going to give a quick background information about my company, the benefits of participating in a cooperative purchasing group, types of commodities that are available to you to acquire, the process, how it all works, and the cost to participate. So who is Doc24? I formed a company back in 2005 under a different name called PIX Group, Purchasing Inventory Control Specialists, and I provide purchasing expertise and inventory control to small businesses, and eventually I started to get involved with municipalities. It was in 2013 that we rebranded because we were offering more services to municipalities and, in fact, the 3 levels of government in areas of public procurement. This is where we eat, live, and breathe procurement. We are the procurement geeks out there because you read a tender document and you'll fall asleep. It'll keep us up for hours because it just fires us right up. So the whole premise behind the company is there's 2 areas that we absolutely hate. One is government pricing, and we absolutely have no tolerance for suppliers who have separate pricing for government and the private sector. The other area that we have no, very little tolerance for is collusion or bid rigging or corruption. So we work very hard in working with our suppliers as well as our clients, teaching and training about ethics in public procurement. So what is cooperative purchasing? It's basically more than one organization getting together and combining your purchasing power to leverage your volume to get better pricing and better service, better quality. In this cooperative, our whole premise was there's over 30 different commodities and goods and services that are offered to the municipalities that you all equally share. Everything from asphalt, fuel, road salt, to services like auditing services, insurance, engineering services, goods like photocopy paper, computers, IT services. So it's unlimited on the list of goods and services that you can acquire. I have been meeting with suppliers for the last 1.5 years, introducing them to the concept of a cooperative. They're ready to go. All we're waiting for is municipalities such as yourselves to join us so we can maximize those volumes and start realizing savings. So the advantages of leveraging your purchasing power is the first one is lower costs. The greater the volume that you have, the lower the cost. And you see that all the time. When you go buy toilet paper for your home, you buy 12 rolls because 12 rolls is cheaper than 1 roll. Higher quality. When you start to be able to standardize your goods and services and you're not customizing it, you're going to have better quality, and you're also, because you're a larger group, you have a hammer that you can use when you're dealing with your supplier in getting better quality and services and delivery. As well, lower transaction costs because you're combining your administrative costs under one tender document, as well as for the suppliers. Instead of bidding on, there's 114 municipalities in Eastern Ontario. Instead of doing 114 tenders, they're only going to do 1 eventually when we start to get everyone on board. Reduce workload for your staff, because what we do is we act as your purchasing department for your staff. And that allows your staff to focus on the higher risk projects. So we take away the routine, mundane tasks of procuring regular things that you do every year. You re-tender for road salt, you re-tender for fuel, those sort of things, and allow your staff to focus on the higher risk projects like construction of bridges and roads. We reduce duplication because we work with a multitude of municipalities and we're only doing, again, one document. So all that duplication is removed from the process, and remove duplication, you're removing costs. And then again, we allow your staff to focus on their core responsibilities. Smaller municipalities such as yourself tend to not have professional purchasers on board, and you tend to have staff that are doing the purchasing who are trained in recreation and parks, and they're doing procurement. Your public works staff, they're trained in public works, and yet they're doing multi-million-dollar complex contracts. And if they don't get it right, it leaves you at a high risk of vendor protests and any legal issues associated with that. So again, types of commodities. There's over 30 types of commodities that are in use right now. The Niagara Joint Purchasing Group has over 54 commodities that they're all sharing and purchasing within their members. Everything from fire services, library products and services, parks and recreation, tourism, printing, planning department. It's just literally unlimited of what your imagination is. Basically, wherever you're spending money on, we can do that within a group purchasing. Keeping in mind, some commodities do not translate well over a whole geographical region of Eastern Ontario. Some things like employee benefits, there's no boundary. If you go with Great West Life for your employee benefits, doesn't matter if you're in North Bay or you're in Cornwall. It's easily transferable. But some products like asphalt, it doesn't make sense that you would go to Kingston for your asphalt when you can use a local supplier. So what we also do is we do at the global Eastern Ontario as well as we do within your own county or neighboring county, and work with you to do the smaller volumes and more focus on the local businesses. Doc24 is very supportive of small businesses, and we have programs in place to help train small businesses on how to find government opportunities, how to write proposals, and we give them the tips and tools to be successful so they can start winning contracts, start getting more successful, start hiring more staff. So how it works is typically if you're doing joint purchasing efforts already, which I know you have been in the past, one agency takes the lead, one municipality takes the lead, and then the rest just kind of piggyback onto the opportunity. What would happen in this cooperative is Doc24 would be the lead on all procurement. We're the in-house experts on public procurement, tendering contracts. We're familiar with trade agreements, the Canadian contract law. So we're very comfortable working with municipalities in writing those documents and administering it. Once an award evaluation has been completed and a recommendation for award is made, then we go back to the participating members who then present the recommendation to council. So you do not lose that decision making at all. It's very much integrated into the whole process. Once councils decide to go ahead and award the contract, then the members who have the approval to proceed with the contract take over that contract and administer it. Some municipalities are getting into shared services, and sometimes the county level, the county will administer the contract and you would have to pay the county. Some are nervous about that because they might lose track of what the costs are. This process, you maintain that control. You have an agreement between the supplier and yourself and not the other members in the group. So even if there's a dispute between, let's say, Renfrew, Town of Renfrew, and Windsor Salt, and you're in the contract as well with Windsor Salt, the dispute is between the town of Renfrew. You guys don't get involved in that because it's one-on-one with the contract and the supplier and yourself. It's not with the cooperative as a whole. Does that make sense? Okay. So how it works is the lead entity would collect fees. My revenue model is there is a membership due to the municipalities who are participating in the cooperative, and it's a fixed annual fee, and everything's inclusive. And then I also put a percentage into the process that I get a percentage of the aggregate total of the contract. So let's say it's $100,000 for road salt. I'd have 1% of that value of contract, which is $1,000. Am I doing the math right? Yes. So that's how it would work. So again, you would not be charged that additional fee. You would be invoiced once a year. It's over and done with, and then you have all the benefits that goes with participating in the cooperative. The annual dues, they're prorated once a year. So there's a set annual due that's due April 1st of every year. And then starting in August, the dues are cut in half for the remainder of the year, depending on when members come on board. And trying to stay within the 15 minutes. Just an example of what Doc 24 can do is an example of government pricing. I assisted a municipality with renovating their administrative building. The project value was over $1 million. And when I had the site visit, I very clearly stated to the suppliers that were there, I said, I will not accept any unbalanced bids, which includes any government pricing. And the way I know that is because before I tendered this document, I went out in the marketplace and said, I'm a regular resident renovating. What is the price per square foot for renovation? So I know what the market value is on the public or private sector. I do not want to see an increase in the public side just because we're government. The budget was $235 a square foot. The bids came in at about $185 a square foot. So that's one way that I was able to save a municipality funding when I'm dealing with government pricing. Another thing that I've helped with is municipalities having problems with a bridge replacement. They just tendered the contract to have their bridge replaced, and they went all through their evaluation. They opened up the financials. The lowest bidder was half the price of everybody else, including half the time and effort. Keeping in mind, that would be wonderful to have a project, a bridge replaced at half the cost. So instead of $1 million, it's $500,000, let's say. But the fact is, the one that submitted the bid was the same company that did the bridge replacement over the Ottawa Airport Parkway. If you're following the news, it took 3 years to replace that bridge, and it was 3 times the cost of originally expected was budgeted. They wanted to award to the second lowest bidder. Contract law is very clear on this. You should award always to the lowest bidder. So they came to me and said, what do we do? I gave them the tools on how to write the report so they can award to the second lowest bidder. That went through, no vendor protests. The bridge was replaced on budget, on time, and the residents didn't file a complaint. So things like that is all included in the package of when you take on Doc 24 services for joint purchasing. It's a lot of information in 15 minutes, but I'm sure you have a lot of questions. So the last couple minutes, fire them away at me.
Jennifer, I guess the first question that I have, and I know the answer, but just for the other councillors, what is the membership fee?
The membership fee is $5,300 a year, and right now it is $2,500 a year because we're prorated right now. So it's
But the-
$2,500 from now till April 1st, and then April 1st, it's $5,300 for a year.
Okay. And I do know that you did have some recent tenders, RFPs out with regards to road salt.
Yes.
And how did they fare out? Was there savings achieved?
There was savings achieved. The tonnage for road salt came in $80 a ton. City of Kingston, just so you know, I have some pricing here. City of Kingston is paying $83 a ton. Getting old, I need my glasses. Algonquin Highlands, $85 a ton. So basically Halliburton area is paying $85.23 a ton. Hastings is paying about $85 a ton. Peterborough, again, $85 a ton. Renfrew is $89 a ton. And Stormont Dundas, they locked in with another county, and they did that 2 years ago, and they were able to get more favorable rates at $72.45 a ton. And they're locked in till 2017.
Okay. Thank you. Was there any other recent tenders, the RFPs that went out that...
We are about to publish employee benefits, which will be published probably by the end of next week, if not the Monday the following week. And the holdup for that is it's going for translation. So we always publish our documents in both official languages, for especially the members who are fully bilingual east of Ottawa. So, yeah.
Right.
And after that, we're looking at auditing services, which will be published probably the following Monday as well. So the award for the auditing services, we're hoping by December 18th to announce the award. So when year end happens, you can have your auditor start working right away without any delay.
And how many municipalities do you have currently?
There are 2 right now. There's yourself that expressed an interest. Laurentian Hills expressed an interest. Valley expressed an interest. So a lot of them are saying, I'm going to get you into next year's budget, because they just don't have the money for the year right now. So I have about 18 that are getting me into next year's budget.
And I think once people realize and compare what perhaps, salt and those types of projects, that they are going to be able or may be able to recoup the cost of the $5,300 membership. I think that's, I know for Laurentian Valley, I know that is one of the concerns of council, as well as the CAO, is how can we recoup those costs and to make a valid recommendation to council. So
yeah.
I'm certainly going to take these numbers back and compare.
The town of Prescott, they just participate in the road salt, but because of where they're located, they're right on the border or on the port where the salt is delivered.
Right.
And instead of paying $80, we're in contact with the City of Cornwall to see if they can piggyback on the $72. If that's the case, then they're saving $3,500 off of their just road salt, because they only buy 400 tons, so it's not a big expense. It's about $36